now.
We'll get a conversation with Hutson Mason, who joins us every week, get his thoughts on what's going on in the SEC as LSU is out of a coach, Florida is out of a coach, and the Georgia-Florida game goes down this weekend. Will it be a rejuvenated and energized Florida program, or with the time off, has Kirby gotten exactly what he needed? The film sessions, recovered bodies, and a refocusing for the final few games of the season. Hawks over the weekend, they win once. They win Friday night when they beat the Magic. They don't win Saturday on a back-to-back when they lose to the world champion Oklahoma City Thunder. So they start off 1-2 so far this season. Kristaps Porzingis already at it. Now, he's known to miss games. Flu-like symptoms kept him out of the last two games. So if the man's sick, the man's sick.
Omicron?
But
well, if he's sick, then that's fine. That's a different story. He's not hurt or banged up or whatever. So you can't miss more than 2 games being with the flu-like symptoms.
That being said, we're trying to work on chemistry, the new look Hawks. We want him out there with the starters. We want him out there at the end of games. Try to feel out where he is defensively. All of it kind of working together. So not to anything to be alarmed or too crazy about. But the Hawks getting that win, they had to come back to beat the Magic too. You'd rather be 1-2 than 0-3. So there's where the Hawks are, who have started off interestingly, to say the least.
He has to play tonight. You can't have flu-like symptoms for 3 games. That's impossible. Then you talk about soft. Oh, that's called COVID. That's not flu-like symptoms.
Oh, no,
Okay? Game time decision. Give me a break, dude.
Haven't seen the man's medical report.
You bet not miss tonight's game.
Hawks and Bulls tonight, 8 o'clock. All right, this man has played the quarterback position at home, on the road, and he's played in a big game that's going down this week with the Dogs, and he is always a member of this unit. He is former Georgia Bulldog quarterback and our teammate, Hutson Mason.
He's a member of the 680 family and a damn good dog.
Hutson Mason, quick throw, touchdown!
It's Hutson Mason, presented by Engineered Solutions of Georgia.
And joining us, as he does every week here in the locker room, our buddy, our pal, our quarterback, Hutson Mason, joining us here in the locker room on the Fan. 680 93.7 FM. Hutz, where were your eyes this weekend? Dogs off to get ready for the Gators. We'll get into that game. But this weekend, where were your eyes with a lot of games that had great impact? You had Ole Miss in a big win over Oklahoma. You got LSU getting thumped, and you have Diego Pavia looking like he's Baker Mayfield or somebody just trying to carry a program to victory after victory.
Yeah, Texas, Kentucky ended up being really interesting late overtime game. Obviously, Georgia's got Texas coming up in a couple weeks, so I was flipping back and forth between a couple of those games that you just mentioned. I mean, what Vanderbilt's done this year is the college football story of the year with Diego Pavia, and the fact that they're in a position to make the playoff is hilarious. So amazing, game Saturday night, and a lot of really good fun, and then I went to church Sunday and was feeling good about myself, and then watched the Falcons, and then went back to feeling pretty bad about myself.
That was one of we had a horrible performance 3 weeks ago against Carolina. It felt like yesterday was worse, Hut. When you watch that game, does it feel like there's any chance of going up from here, or is this a team that again is just playing out the string?
Yeah.
There's a comment, like a statement, a phrase that I've been thinking about this morning. What you should do eventually, you should do immediately. You guys ever heard that?
Yes.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking about with the Atlanta Falcons. What you should do eventually, like, this is an end of the road for Raheem. It's definitely the end of the road for Zac. I've seen it coming for weeks. Unfortunately, this is an offense under him that's never been able to score points. They're 29th in the league right now, averaging 17 points per game. And at the end of the day, like, if you can move the ball up and down the field and you can fleece people on how good your offense is with total yardage, and tell me all you want about Bijan and all these cool yards and stats, but if you can't score points, like, you're not doing your job. At the end of the day, as an offensive coordinator, your job is to score points. And if you even go back and look at last year, he, in this offense, has struggled for whatever reason to put the ball in the end zone. And, I mean, yesterday you basically just scored 3 points outside of a garbage touchdown late in the fourth quarter. So my belief is, guys, and I really do believe this, I don't know what Zach's future is. Maybe he takes the Oklahoma State job or whatever. But I do believe you can tie this back to Raheem. I think Raheem took a chance on a guy coming from the Rams who was not only unproven, he really wasn't ready to be a play caller in the NFL. He had spent 3 or 4 years with the Rams as an assistant QB coach and assistant receiver coach, which is a glorified like GA at the NFL level.
Yes.
He had never been a position coach, and he certainly had never called plays. He'd been in the league for 4 years.
That's correct.
Before that, he's working for a Pro Football Focus. And Raheem Morris, my belief really is that he had seen these guys get plucked under the Sean McVay tree and go have success other places. And I think he thought that he was going to get his variation of it.
Dude,
and it blew up in his face.
He hired his buddies. That's what he did. He brought in Jimmy Lake, who we worked with before, wherever it was, who had never been a defensive coordinator in the NFL. And he did the same thing with Zac Robinson. It's a what do you call it?
Nepotism.
Yeah, 100%. You just bring in your buddies. It's just, you pointed out perfectly, Hudson. The guy, I don't know what we expected. Zac Robinson has never done that before, and it's showing big time.
Yep.
What is best for Michael Penix Jr., in your opinion? Cut the offensive coordinator right now, because we still have 10 weeks of football, 2 months of football with our pro team. What is best for, and I don't know how you develop a guy with a guy who's clearly going to be out of here, but what is best for a first-time starter that has 10 more games to play and try to manage and win when you have disarray and an offense that isn't working already?
Well, I think the best thing for the quarterback is, TBD long term. I really don't think that they're going to move off from Raheem. That's not the nature of Arthur Blank. He's not a reactionary owner. But this offense isn't scoring points. It's not giving your defense, which is much improved, a chance to win. And so to me, it's like, you have seen a sample size with Zac Robinson where it's just not working. And I don't know if they've got somebody else on their staff that has experience calling plays. Clearly doesn't matter. I mean, give TJ Yates a shot. But for a young quarterback, I mean, they're not really putting him in a position in the system to super thrive and succeed with his skill set. And we're running the pistol, and really the pistol is meant for more mobile quarterbacks that have the option to pull the ball every once in a while and keep a defense honest. And we run a pistol with a guy who he's not even a runner.
We have 2 quarterbacks who can't run.
Running pistols.
When I think of pistol, I think of Colin Kaepernick at Nevada. That's what I think about. A mobile quarterback.
Lamar Jackson.
Yeah. What I'm watching is Hutson Mason back there right now playing in the pistol.
You did have 4 rushing touchdowns, though, which is probably more than we'll get.
My gosh, it's painful to watch, boys.
Hutson Mason joining us here in the locker room via the Loud Security Systems Newsmaker line.
What do you think happened? I know one of our boys, Zeno, took your video and posted it, but talk about that play that you brought up and what you think happened, the miscommunication, and then I was always taught, unless it's a unless it's a given that the route is stayed on and locked in, if you get bump and run with a deep comeback, you could just go, especially if you got to step on the guy.
So the play you're talking about, I believe, is 3rd and 4, the first third down of the second half.
Yep.
And Kirk Cousins is in the shotgun. You can see him go audible. He goes can, and it's clear as day that he's checking from the first play call to the second play call. What my eyes noticed was, I believe the gentleman's name is Sills, the receiver they just activated from the practice squad with Ray McLeod getting cut. You can see him throw up his hands like, hey, what do I got? Like, what am I doing? What's the play? And my eyes just happened to catch this. And the ball is snapped, and he ends up running a comeback. Kirk throws a go ball, and they're clearly not on the same page. And when you go back and look at it, and this is the video I sent you guys, is like, I can't believe that this receiver doesn't know what the play is. Kirk Cousins is going can, which means we're killing the first play, we're canning it, and we're going to the second play. So there's 2 plays called in the huddle. And I don't know, my only thought is when I see something like that, my belief is that he didn't know or forgot or whatever what the route he was supposed to run on the second play. And I mean, the Kirk just throws it out there like he's maybe expecting, to your point, Finn, to convert it.
Right.
The young receiver runs a comeback, and I hadn't seen that in a while. And so it unfortunately was an indictment on how the day went and how the season's going for the Falcons.
Well, let's try to get you in a better mood as we wrap up things with Hutson Mason here. Let's talk Georgia and Florida. The cocktail party coming up on Saturday. Huge game, obviously implications for the college football playoff for Georgia and staying alive in the SEC race. Is there any fear with Florida making a coaching change that they get that coaching bump for one game?
I think there's always a little bit of fear with that. I do think there really is, guys, something to be said about a team that has been playing for a coach that they know eventually was going to get fired, and the energy, the morale in the locker room is gone. And when you have a coach that potentially has lost the locker room, guys just kind of mentally check out. And so the combination of having 2 weeks to prepare, they have nothing to lose. Players tend to play a little bit more free. They're not afraid of a coach benching them. They're not afraid of getting yelled at or whatever. I do think there's an element of that. I don't want to blow it out of proportion, but the one thing we've seen under Kirby Smart is like he typically has his teams like really always ready to go. There's no element of surprise. There's no like I remember 2014 when we went down and played Florida. I think we were the top 10 team in the country. And Florida was on the verge of firing Will Muschamp. I mean, we were by far the better team. We walked in there, went up 10-0 on them, and ended up getting beat like 3 touchdowns. Florida ran for 300 yards. Treon Harris threw the ball 6 times total. And it was a terrible day to be at Georgia. I mean, we had no business losing that game. I think Will Muschamp ended up getting fired at the end of the year anyways. And so – like the difference, I think, is like those games where those kind of gotcha games where you just go, man, what are we doing? Like, why are we even having this conversation of like, hey, were you ready? Were you prepared? Were you ready to go from the start? Kirby, the way he coaches, the way he practices, the way he leads his team, you haven't seen a lot of those moments to believe that like this will be a sneak up on you game. For Florida or Georgia. So if Florida's going to win, like they'd have to go actually play well and actually beat Georgia. But I'm not predicting that'll happen.
You've been in this game. You've been a part of the bye week. What is the thing, or what are the things the players should have been doing to prepare after having a week off?
Well, I think a lot of times these weeks, like fans think that you're preparing extra time for Florida. There's an element of that, but a lot of times you just start work on yourself. You spend a week working on the fundamentals, working on mechanics, working on drills. And I know Kirby, I listened to his press conference again this week. They spend a lot of time think about the secondary as much as they've got to work on the front seven. And so they probably spend a good amount of time just honing their own stuff, thinking about what they can get better at, and then they probably spent a good amount of time, probably middle to late last week, thinking about Florida as well and game planning. So, the positive thing is, as a Georgia fan, you're coming off of a game against Ole Miss where this offense looked as best as it has all year. I think that for me, that's what I'm most eager to see is with the bye week, do these things continue offensively? Does Gunner continue to take that next step? He took a massive step forward against Ole Miss. And I have said, and I felt like this coming out of that game, if this offense can play at that gear and that level, like that's third gear for me. That's where the elite teams in college football that have a chance to win a national championship can be offensively. To me, it really is. It changes. They're already kind of a playoff type team. I think with that offense, if that's what we're going to get, they are a national championship type team. And so that's what I'm most eager to see with the bye week.
Is Kirby Smart a bad man? He's getting people fired. Florida can't rise to the occasion. They fire their coach. LSU can't build their program like Kirby has. Fired is Brian Kelly. Poor Hugh Freeze. We don't know how it's going to end. Probably bad if he loses to Alabama. Alabama is going to finish off Hugh Freeze because people can't catch up to what Kirby Smart has done. Do you think this is going to be a trend that continues in the SEC where people keep firing coaches because they can't meet expectations? Or do you think one of these programs will pick a guy and just try to ride it out?
Yeah, no, I do think we are, especially this year, guys, when you look at already the jobs that are open, you mentioned maybe Auburn comes open. There's other jobs potentially that could come open as well. There is not enough, quality head coaches or like fits or proven head coaches for the amount of jobs that are open. That's what's scary. Is now all of a sudden, if you're, I'm thinking about some schools like Virginia Tech and NC, and maybe the context of those situations is different. They've had coaches there. Maybe it's time to move on, like Virginia Tech. But when you're LSU and Florida, like you have to get Penn State, you have to get the right fit. You can't afford to settle. And there are just so many jobs open this year, big name jobs in college football, that it just makes me wonder, like, are we going to be, for some of these programs, back in the same boat in a couple years? Because it's like a supply and demand type thing. Like, is there really a good fit, a coach that you really believe is going to succeed? Are you willing to give him a chance to succeed? Or is this just out of pure emotion, some of these decisions? And, when you're seeing that LSU right now, they don't even have a sitting president. And so the governor of Louisiana, I don't know about you guys, but when I read the governor of Louisiana was involved in it, I was going, how in the world does the governor of Louisiana get involved in this decision? I know Louisiana is different, but like goodness. You imagine the governor of Louisiana is like leading the charge on the new LSU football coach. And so, yeah, it just, and then think about USC. Where's USC at right now? Are they in a position where you can confidently say like they're going to keep Lincoln Riley at the end of the year? So it's tying this back to Georgia. Like you just got to feel so calm and so good that Georgia is where they're at with Kirby Smart.
And Hudson, to your point with that, like there's some, like John Sumrall's name at Tulane is getting a lot of. LSU can't make that kind of hire. Florida can't make that kind of hire. Penn State can't, because maybe even more important for schools like that, you've got to win the press conference when you're eating $50 million a coach for the buyout. And to your point, I think that's where, you may see people pony up and try to overpay for some of the coaches that are out there. Do you think LSU is the best job that's open right now?
Yeah, I would put it. Yeah, I do. I think it's better than Penn State. Obviously, Florida. You can make probably an argument where they're at, maybe 1A, 1B. So yeah, I do think it is. I think to your point, Johnny, like LSU won the press conference previously with Brian Kelly, and it didn't work out. But if these ADs have any guts and like gumption to make the right decision, the right football long-term decision, I think they would consider some of these coaches like a Eli Drinkwitz, like a Clark Lee. They're not going to win the press conference, but they've been places and they've turned programs around that weren't winning beforehand. Like those are the guys to me that are football coaches. They're not going to be, the front of Sports Illustrated. They're not going to be the hires that, go crazy in the media. But I think, like, those are the guys with the track record of, look what's going on at Indiana. I mean, like, jobs like that, guys like that have been places and turned programs around is really where LSU should put their focus. But there's a lot of things that go into that decision, and it's not always just about that.
Great conversation. We'll see how things go with the Dogs and the Gators, and we look forward to catching up with you next week, Hut.
Okay, guys. Appreciate it. Have a good week.
Hutson Mason joining us here in the locker room via the Loud Security Systems Newsmaker line. All right, coming up, we'll get to our headlines and get a chance to move the chains as now there's